Okay, welcome back, and thank you everybody as always for being here. Today's episode is 12 ways to become happier. Just like the idea of doing this content makes me already feel happier. And one thing I want to say is with this kind of idea of happiness, and we talk about like optimism and pessimism. I was listening to a podcast recently. I can't remember if it was School of Greatness, Lewis Howes, or if it was Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett. I'm not sure, but they had, I believe it was a doctor on there, and they talked about the difference between pessimism and optimism. And they spoke about on this podcast that kind of, it's almost like there's a spectrum, right? Of some of us are more closer naturally to being optimistic, and some of us are maybe closer to being pessimistic. But what they said was it's only on average around 30% of kind of genetics and personality that is about where we naturally stand. In other words, what makes us pessimistic or optimistic, the vast majority of it is down to many other factors like, you know, who you're surrounded with, who you listen to, all these kind of things. So that kind of default setting, if you want to call it that natural, whether you're more naturally pessimistic or more naturally optimistic, only equates for about 30%. Right. And I thought this was fascinating because I reflected on this, and I'm going to be really honest about this. I think that naturally I am way more pessimistic. Some of you might find that surprising based on like what I speak about and what I do, but I genuinely think naturally I am more pessimistic than I am optimistic. Let me know in the comments, what do you think you are? Do you think you're more, if you would say just like your default setting, do you normally see more of the positives and the good in life, or naturally do you more see the negatives and the fear and the worst in life? I'll be honest, there's a reason I got into personal development. And it wasn't because I was personally developed and perfect. It was because there was a lot of things I wanted to improve and I wanted to work on. And one of that is I naturally I could be quite moody. I felt like I had to really work at my mental health and my mindset and work at being positive. So that was really interesting, thinking, okay, so this is a real thing, that there's like a spectrum, and some of us are naturally more optimistic. Some of us are naturally more pessimistic, but either way, that only equates to 30% on average, which is really positive because the rest of it is all to play for. And that's kind of what this episode is about the bits that we can control that are going to make us be more optimistic. But interestingly, as I was thinking about it, I do think, like, when I think of my family, I do think that is our default setting. Naturally, at the core of us, we are more pessimistic. My dad is very logical, always focuses on worst case scenarios. My mum is quite pessimistic, like, oh, good things don't happen to us. We always get the crap end of the stick. My nan's like that. And not in a way that we're like victims or pity potty. In a way, like we get on with it. My family just get on with it. Like, we take action. Like, my mum is one of the hardest working people I know. But I do think our default setting is naturally more pessimistic. But that only makes up for 30%. The rest is in our control. And I've got 12 things that I'm going to go through. I'm going to go through them quite quick. I can't go in depth on 12, otherwise we'll be here till midnight tomorrow. But what I advise you to do as you're listening to these 12 things is almost see it like a checklist. This is a checklist. These are 12 things that are completely and utterly within your control. And as you each one of these 12 points, think about how would you currently rate yourself now on a percent basis. So for each point that I go through, think, how well have I accomplished this point? Would I say on a scale, I get this right about 70% of the time, or I focus on this 70% of the time? Or maybe it's 100%. I really have nailed this point. Or maybe it's like, nah, this is like 5%. I never ever think about this, or maybe 0%. So I want you to think about each point as being something you can rate yourself, like a checklist you can rate each point on, and to think about where are you at right now and where would you like to be. And hopefully what that gives you at the end of this is clarity on the areas that you could put more of your time into, more energy into, that are going to in return give you more happiness. So number one is give without wanting anything back. Okay, so in terms of experiencing more happiness in your life, there's a quote that I once heard that I think is so true. And it said, the art of living is giving. And I genuinely think that. I think, is there really, when you break it down, is there a better feeling in your soul, in your heart, than when you see another human being's life made that little bit better by something you did, something you said, something you gave? Like, it genuinely is one of the most heartwarming, wholesome, happy experiences you can have. So think about that. Like, how often can you do good for others without needing or wanting anything back? In actual fact, if they try and give you something back, be like, no, 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 no. On this occasion, this is not how this is going down. I don't want anything back. So, and it doesn't have to be, I think when you say things like give without wanting anything back, people start to think, oh, you mean money? Oh, I don't have money right now, and blah, 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 and those kind of things. And it doesn't have to be money. It could be a compliment. It could be taking the opportunity to compliment somebody rather than just think it, say it, or even specifically looking for a compliment in somebody who's, maybe struggling, or maybe you don't speak to that often, actually looking at them and going, what is something about them that's great, or something that I've recognized that I really respect? And I'm going to tell them that. So complimenting somebody, complimenting a stranger, it might be just doing a favor for somebody that needs it. It might be buying somebody's coffee. I like this idea of, like, if you're in a queue in a coffee shop, like paying for the person behind you and they don't know that it's you, just say, like, whatever they want, I'll pay for it, or something like that. It might be giving some money to somebody on the streets. I remember the other day outside of our local Tesco, there was a guy there. Obviously, he was homeless. And I walked into Tesco and I realized I had a spare quid. I was like, I'm giving him this quid. Because I always just feel like it wasn't even about the money, actually. It was about, I really wanted to look him in the eye and say, there you go, mate. I hope you're okay. I always feel like with homeless people, they must have so many people just not even acknowledge that they exist. Like, just literally walk past, avoiding eye contact because they don't have any money to give. And I actually think probably what would be even more beneficial to that human being is just have someone look them in the eye. Maybe ask how they are, or just say, like, hope you're okay, or something like that. I remember thinking, that is aligned with this kind of thing I'm talking about. This is something I want to do because it's just going to be a good thing that just makes me feel wholesome, and obviously it's going to be good for the other person. I was gutted when I came outside. He'd gone. I couldn't believe it. And a week later, the other day, when I came back to do my shop at the same place, he was there again. And the joy and the happiness that he was there, and I also still had £1 in my wallet, was amazing. I was like, yes, I'm so happy that I get to be able to just take a moment to give to somebody else and not want anything back. It might be, I think somebody just put there on TikTok, I volunteer with an amazing homeless charity called Groundswell. So yeah, amazing, Jessica. That can be something like volunteering or donating to a charity, whatever it is that you can do. So that is the first thing. Give without wanting anything back, and genuinely do it just because it's a good thing to do and because it's going to make you feel more happiness. That is the only reason. You don't want anything back. That's number one. So again, as you're going through this, what percent would you feel you succeed at that? How often do you do that? Would you say you're at 20%, 30%, 40%? Are you at 80, 90, 100%? The rating is subjective. It's down to you. But have a think about where it is and ask yourself the question, would I like to change that? And then that's something you can be mindful of as you go through the week. I've just seen Jeanette said over on Facebook, giving is the best feeling in the world. And I do totally agree. Number 2, in my 12 ways to become happier, is stop consuming so much. If you want to live a happier life, if you want to feel a higher level of happiness on a more regular basis, my advice is stop consuming so much. As much as possible, avoid things like the news, avoid listening to people who make you feel angry. Unfollow accounts on social media that rile you up, that make you feel negative, that are always moaning, whinging, bitching, whining, complaining. Stop consuming that kind of stuff. And my advice is, when it comes to social media can be an incredible tool. And it's something that I coach, it's something I talk about, and it's something that obviously I utilize. But my answer, But my suggestion is be a creator, not a consumer. So make sure the majority of your time on social media is not just like brain dead scrolling and just like being at the mercy of what people have written and said and done. Because more often than not, it's controversial or it's negative. So if you go into social media, and if this applies to anything in life, do things for a purpose. Like if you are going to consume, what are you going to consume? Is it you want some inspiration, some motivation? Is it you want to learn something and there's a particular account you could learn from, and you're going to spend 20 minutes on that account learning from it, and then you're out, done. I consumed for a purpose, for a reason, not just mindless scrolling. And then equally, if you're going to use social media, I think that there's an amazing opportunity right now on it. Be a creator, not a consumer. But ultimately, my advice is be disciplined and do not consume too much. I think the statistics is something like, when it comes to the news and like general media and reporting, it's something like to every 17 pieces of negative news that is reported, there is one piece of positive news. That is I believe, the general ratio. So whenever we watch the news, generally speaking, 17 pieces of information that is reported, news that is reported, is negative, of a negative nature, and one is positive. Do you think you're going to live a happy life if you're consuming that every single day, and then you're scrolling on Instagram and seeing people fall out and moan? So that's my second step. Stop consuming so much. Number 3, be more present and make peace with your past. I think one of the best things that is going to make you feel happier is focusing on being in the now. Really appreciate this moment right now. Really focus on the good right now, and stop living so much always in the past or the future. You're worrying about the future, thinking about what you didn't do in the past and what went wrong in the past. The more that you can focus on the present, the more you're going to live a more peaceful life and therefore a more happy life. And I'm sure lots of you are aware of lots of things you can do to focus more on the present, things like mindfulness, meditation, yoga, all these kinds of things. But also make peace with your past. If you've got unresolved problems that crop up, if you've got behavioral patterns and limiting beliefs and fears and things like that, confront them. Make that a decision that I'm going to delve into this. I'm going to understand this better, and I'm going to make peace with it and move on. Put it behind me. That might be getting a therapy, doing some therapy sessions. It might be working with a counselor. There's something that I coach from time to time, one thing that I'm a practitioner in, which is timeline therapy. And that is specifically about going back through time and also looking at the future and also looking at the present, and starting to look perhaps at certain things with a slightly different lens, able to help you make peace with the past and move forward. So I would say this is a really, really important thing, focusing on being present and make peace with your past. Number 4, a pretty obvious one. I'm not going to spend long on this. It's one that you just need to do. Remove the negative people from your life and replace with positive action takers. We've heard this phrase many times before. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you generally spend most of your days with people who are negative, who bitch, who moan, who whine, who complain, who always find a problem to every solution, who always see the worst in everything, you're going to start to be a bit like them. Do you think you're going to have a happy life living like that? So be bold, make decisions. I need to distance myself from these certain people, and I need to get around more people who are positive, that are optimistic, that are taking action on things that are helping them, contribute to the world better, grow, do better things, inspire, motivate. So that's number 4. Again, rate yourself on a percent. How well are you doing this? How well would you say you currently are doing number 4? Number 5, gratitude. This is something I think that is so often overlooked and not taken seriously. So I want to add the caveat of serious gratitude. Like, not just going, I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful. Yeah, I'm grateful. Like, actually seriously focus. And this is no longer just kind of like some woo-woo, like, oh, personal development, gratitude, yay. This is science-backed. It is proven that your happiness increases and depression decreases when you focus on gratitude. When you actually have that perspective shift, and instead of focusing on what you don't have, instead of focusing on what's going wrong, instead of focusing on the problems, you genuinely take some time to focus on how bloody lucky you are right now. So number 5 is gratitude. Number 6 is exercise, nutrition, and protecting your sleep. 3 absolutely huge points. You know, your body is designed to move. If you're just going to sit around all day, like, you know, sat on like a desk all day, and then you get in your car and you sit in your car and you drive home, and then you get home and you sit at the dinner table and you eat your dinner, and then you finish your dinner and you sit on your settee and you watch telly, you're not going to feel great. You know, your body isn't designed to live like that. Your body is designed to move. Your body is designed to be active, to stretch. So make sure that you're moving your body. Make exercise an integral part of your everyday schedule. And also nutrition. Guys, you know, ladies, gents, listen, please. When you get your nutrition right, when you're filling your body with the things that your body needs, you won't realize like how good you're designed to feel when you're eating the right foods, when you're not eating the processed crap and the energy drinks and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like exercise, nutrition, and sleep are like a wonder drug. Like if I said to you, there's a new drug that's been brought out, it's pretty expensive, but if you take it, it improves your mood. It's going to make you think clearer. You're going to be more sharp. You're going to make better decisions. You're going to have more energy. It's pretty expensive, but it's worth it, right? You're like, how much? I'll pay. And the reality is, that is what sleep gives us. It's what good nutrition gives us. And it's what exercise gives us. And it doesn't cost us a penny. It's completely free of charge. So if you want to feel happier, look at how well you're eating. Look at how hydrated you are as well. That's something else. Look at how much sleep you're getting. And are you focusing on a good evening and morning routine to protect that sleep? And look at how often you're exercising. If you commit to doing that consistently, you're going to feel happier. You're going to feel better about yourself. Your body's going to look better. And ultimately, you're going to feel happier. Number 7, learn to say no. This is a big one. If you want to feel happier in your life, you need to get good at saying no. You need to stop trying to be a people pleaser, keeping everybody else happy and not putting yourself first. So my advice is have clear goals. And once you have those clear goals set, then set clear boundaries. And then it becomes much easier when somebody's asking something of you. You know, you can look at that. And if that is going to take you away from your goals and from the lifestyle that you're trying to create, and it doesn't align with you, your vision, your values, you need to honor those boundaries. You need to be honest with that person and say, I'm sorry, no can do. It's not happening. Yeah? This is a big one. And I know it's a big one that people struggle with and find really difficult. But if you want a happier life, you've got to get good at saying no. And you've got to get clear on your vision, your goals, the life you want to live. Say yes to more of the things that add to it and no to the things that don't serve you and move you away. Number 8, have a routine. Your body rewards you for routine. So going to bed at similar times, getting up at similar times, scheduling your days, knowing that you've got purpose with every hour. You know, you're not just mindfully going through the days. This then leads to accomplishing more things. It leads to being more productive. And when we do that, we then start to feel much happier. So having a set routine, being as consistent as possible with the caveat that not every day is going to be perfect, and that's okay too. But what I always say is have daily non-negotiables. So I saw Daisy put on here, she said, like, have you done your 7K today? And the fact the reason she was saying that, sorry, is because I said to her, like, my goal every day is to hit 10,000 steps 7 days a week. However, although that's my goal, my non-negotiable is 7,000. So my goal is 10, but the non-negotiable is 7. And the reason that I work like that is because I'm very aware that a lot of us go from the all-in versus all-out mentality. So we go 10,000, yeah, Monday was amazing. 10,000, yay, Tuesday was amazing. Wednesday was really busy. Some things didn't go to plan. There was stress. Oh, God, I've only done 5,000. Oh, well, I'm just not going to do it today. Then we're really tired because Wednesday was super stressful. Thursday, we're knackered. Oh, I need an extra hour in bed. I'm not going out. I'm not getting my steps. And I didn't do it yesterday anyway. Oh, just forget about it. Life's too busy, stressful. It's not going to happen. Whereas on that day when I only hit 5,000, instead of thinking, oh my God, it's nearly the end of the day and I'm way off. I've not even done, I've only done half my goal. I go, yeah, but Matt, your non-negotiable is only 7. Don't ever fall below the non-negotiable. 7. Okay, we've just got 2 to do. Get the coat on, get out, and get the 2,000 done. And that's the way that I work. I have a goal, I have an idealistic scenario, but I also couple that with a daily non-negotiable. What is the baseline? What is the bottom line that I will not, because of my standards and my expectation of myself, which is something I can control, right? I will not fall below that. So that's one thing I would say about a routine. Number 9 is the polar opposite. Variety. If you want to live a happier life, live a life with variety. Now, let me break this down because some people are like, what? You said have a routine, do 7,000 steps every day. What? That's the opposite of variety. That's doing the same thing. That's structure every day. Well, I was listening to a podcast. This was this was the Diary of CEO, and it may have been the same podcast that the other information was on, come to think about it. And it was a lady called Dr. Tali Sharot. And she said that a lot of people focus on happiness. How do we be happier in life? But she said there's actually, happiness is one part of the equation. She said there's 3 things that contribute to a good life. She said number 1 is happiness. Number 2 is meaning. And number 3 is variety. And this confirms something that I've thought about for years, because I'll be honest, when I got into like personal development and read all the books and all this kind of thing, it's all about structure. Consistency is key. The same daily habits, day in, day out, add up to great results. And I was like, like this doesn't come natural to me. Like, I don't like doing the same thing every single day. I like doing different things. I like some nights staying up late and some mornings getting up early. Give me some love hearts if you resonate with that, because this was something I really found challenging. I'd love to know if anybody else is in the same boat. I found this really challenging, this idea of consistency, structure, doing the same things. I remember working with my cousin in the gym when we were looking at, diet, nutrition and working out and things like that. And he was like, ideally, you want to be getting to bed at the same time, even on weekends. And I was like, this doesn't sound like a fun life. Well, here's the thing. This is when I then started to develop this idea of things being seasonal. Okay. And coupled with that, the idea from the previous point of daily non-negotiables. So you have the idealistic goals, but then you break it down into, but when things aren't idealistic, what's my daily non-negotiable? And for you, it might not be 7,000 steps. For you, it might be 3,000 or 4,000, like whatever's manageable, whatever you can look at and think, even on a really tough day, that is something I can do. So you've got those daily non-negotiables. And that means that one way or another, you're going to be pretty consistent. As long as you don't go from the all-in versus all-out mentality, you're going to be in the right part, ballpark, whether that be creating content to build your brand, whether that be doing sales calls in your business, whether that be eating consistent protein, getting to bed around the same sort of time, getting a certain amount of steps in, whatever your goals are, have daily non-negotiables that you're like, whatever happens, I can get this done every day. And at worst case scenario, I might miss one day in a blue moon, but it's only one day. And the next day I just go back to daily non-negotiables. So the daily non-negotiables is super important to this equation of having variety, because they can just be simple things that don't take a lot out of your day that you can do every day pretty much. But the other thing is that looking at things seasonal. So this is why I look at things like sometimes I'm like, right, I'm really taking my podcast super seriously now. And other times I'm like, I've exhausted that for a bit. My passion's not there. I believe the quality won't be as good. So I'm going to focus more on my entertainment business now, or I'm going to focus more on taking holidays the next month. And I really plan my year out in seasons. And I'm like, this is the season where I'm working hard in this area. This is the season where I'm working hard in that area. This is the season where I'm going to go traveling. And at the time of recording, I've already booked 4 holidays this year, 4 periods out of the diary where I'm going to be going abroad. But equally, right now, I'm in full hustle season. I've got a lot of clients I'm working with, putting a lot of time and energy into my content, a lot of time and energy into the podcast and marketing it. And my entertainment company right now is all guns blazing. We had like a long meeting this morning. Like, I'm in hustle season, but I also know in a few months I'm in holiday season. That's an exciting life. Now, again, kind of something I think that's really, really important is to understand that this is going to be different from person to person based on where you are in your life and where you want to be in your life. Now, don't forget, I'm at this place now where by my personal standards, not about based on anybody else, by my personal standards, I've achieved a hell of a lot of the things that I want to achieve. I've broken a world record. I've done a Brit Final bodybuilding show. I've had a top charted podcast. I've got a successful business that makes me good money. I've done some great things as a coach, worked with some fantastic people. Like, I'm at a certain place now where over a decade of hard work has meant I can have more balance. So there's going to be a point in your life where it's less seasonal and it's less balance. But as long as you've got a clear plan and you're surrounding yourself with the right people and you put it in the correct work, i.e. working smart and not just hard, then the chances are there's going to be a payoff. And that's where then you can readjust and readapt what seasons means for you. So again, be real with yourself. Be honest with yourself right now. Maybe 4 holidays this year isn't a place you're in this year, but maybe it will be next year or the year after that. Maybe you'll have 10. I don't know, right? But variety. If you want to have more happiness in your life, we all know the saying, and it turns out it's actually true. Variety is the spice of life. So that's something else, structure, routine, daily non-negotiables is a must. It's so important. But don't get so stuck in the routine and the structure that you forget to live. Have variety and be intentional about having variety. Okay, number 10 out of the 12 ways to become happier. Remove the need to prove anything to anyone. Remove the need to prove anything to anyone. Stop trying to prove other people wrong. Stop trying to be right. Stop trying to get others to agree with you, to like you, to understand you, to accept you. Stop trying to make someone be jealous of you. Remove all of that. Get rid of all of that. Just focus on you doing the best you can. Stick to your own lane. Focus on, what do I want for me first, for my loved ones second? Because when I work on me being the best first, then I can give to others better. But really focus on just being the best you can be without needing to prove anything to anyone. I'll just let you into something here. The 7 levels deep exercise, which is an exercise I do with clients often on a one-to-one basis about finding their why. Time and time again, I hear it's about proving somebody else wrong. That is such a shit way of chasing goals, because we're doing it from a place within that is insecure, from a place within that is maybe angry or upset. Ultimately, we're doing it from a place within that is negative. We need to achieve this goal so we can stick 2 fingers up at them or prove to them this or show them that. Or you may have heard that quote, the best revenge is when you don't need revenge. If you want to live a happier life, Stop needing to prove anything to anybody. Stop needing to be right. Go into scenarios and conversation being open to being wrong, to learn, to listen, to have an opinion, have a viewpoint, have it challenged and go, you know what? I reckon you're right. I reckon I got that wrong. Remove that ego. Remove that ego and be at peace with learning, with growing, with improving, not for the sake of anything else other than it's going to give you a more meaning, fulfilling, and happy life. That's it. So my advice is focus on you, focus on being the best you can be, always be open to learn, to listen, to be proved wrong. When you do that, the right people are going to gravitate to you. They're going to gravitate into your life. And they're not going to be people that you want to prove wrong or want to, show that they got that wrong and you're right and all those kind of things. So that's a really important one. If you want to live a happier life and become happier, let go of the need of proving anything to anyone. Prove shit to yourself. Number 11, see the good in everything and remove expectations. So again, we have something that we call the negativity bias. And it's there to protect us, always looking for the negatives so that we're making sure we're protected, we're safe, but it doesn't often serve us. Something that's going to make you live a happier life is to always focus on, to every downside, there's an upside. Every failure is an opportunity for feedback, to learn, to grow, to improve. See challenging times as the best opportunity to become better. You don't grow in a comfort zone. You don't get stronger. You don't become more resilient, more capable in a comfort zone. You become those things when you're stretched, when it gets tough, when it's hard, when it's challenging, when you don't want to do it, but you do it anyway. So start to flip those challenging times as not being like, oh, why me? This is awful. This is horrible. And as best as you can, find the gift, find the opportunity. See this as one of the best times to grow, to become stronger, to improve. And start to always pick out the positives. There's something we talk about in coaching, which is a positive reframe. And ultimately, at the core, that's about seeing the positives in everything. And, when you do something good, celebrate that. Be proud of that. But when you do bad, look at how you can learn from that. Don't beat yourself up. We all make mistakes. We all fuck up from time to time. Don't see it as, oh, I'm a loser. I'm useless. It's over for me. I'm always getting things wrong. And all this kind of thing. I don't know why I just did Kevin the teenager right there. But this is what we do, right? Our negative self-talk kicks in. Instead, celebrate the positives and the good things you do and learn from the bad. See the bad and the mistakes as a brilliant opportunity. See the good. And there's a phrase that people say, which is about plan for the worst. Yeah, have a strategy. It comes back to having goals and, having routine and structure and thinking ahead. Absolutely. Have a strategy. Plan for the worst, but expect the best. Focus on self-belief. Focus on faith. Focus on expecting one way or another, things will turn out okay. Things will be all right. Now, there is something I just want to say about expectations, because there was something beautiful that I heard Jimmy Carr say on the Diary of a CEO podcast, which is one of my favorite podcasts that I heard, that episode with Jimmy Carr. And he said, the meaning of life is enjoying the passage of time. That's it. That's the meaning of life, to enjoy it. And I just thought, you know what? He's so right. Like, we are here for such a short amount of time. And if we're always focusing on, why ain't I got this? Why ain't I done that? Oh, I've made a mistake. Oh, I'm rubbish. Oh, I'm stupid. We're just losing life on silly things. So I think that's a really important thing to remember. But I believe it was him that also spoke about this idea of like what creates happiness and what creates sadness. And he just simply said that, we're unhappy when our expectation of reality goes unmet with reality. So if we expect it to go a certain way and it doesn't, Oh, I'm not happy about that. I thought this would happen. But equally, the opposite is true. When our expectation is exceeded, oh, I only thought this would happen, but now this has happened. Oh my God, this is even better. That's how we become happy. Now, I think the important thing to take away from that, it's not about having low expectations and thinking everything's shit and everything's going to be rubbish. So therefore, if it's not completely shit and rubbish, I can be happy. I don't think that's the key to it. I don't think that's what we should do. I think we should expect the best. We should work on self-belief and believing, having faith, believing everything's going to be okay. But I think the thing we have to add to that is learning to be completely at peace with that not happening. I think that's the key about expectations. Being at peace with, do you know what? I hoped for the best. I gave my best. I focused on the best. It didn't happen, and that's okay. That's cool. I'm not going to dwell on it. So see the good in everything and be at peace with when things don't go how you planned. That is a huge one to work on and really be mindful of. Again, coming back to what I said at the beginning, rate yourself on a percent. How well do you think you do that on a daily basis? Would you say you're about 50-50? I get that right 50% of the time, but another 50% I'm wrong. You're about 70%? Yeah, most of the time I'm pretty good at seeing the good, seeing the solutions, focusing on the positives, seeing failure as feedback, and it doesn't hold me back. Or is there work to be done? That's something that's really important. And the final one, the final way in my 12 ways to become happier is make time for love. That's right. Make time for love. This is huge. Loving, meaningful relationships with a deep connection with that other person is one of the most powerful ways to experience more happiness in your life. I'm not just talking about sexual, intimate relationships. This could be friends. This could be family. This could be work colleagues. Having genuinely passionate, loving, thoughtful relationships that are meaningful is one of the best ways you can experience more happiness in your life. So focus on it, guys, right? Focus on those relationships. Make time for those relationships. Don't take them for granted. Do not take those relationships for granted. I know this is something that I'm still working on. This doesn't come natural to me, but I'm working on it. And I really advise you to. It comes back to being present. Love is a huge part of what makes us feel human, and love is a huge part of what gives us happiness. Genuine love. So focus on it. But I'm not just talking about the love of other people and relationships. I'm talking about the most important relationship you'll ever have in your life, and that is the relationship with yourself. Focus on loving yourself more. Really work on this, okay? Work on, like I've just said, go easy on your weaknesses. We're learning, we're human, we're not perfect, and that's okay. That's all right. Let's learn from it, but don't beat yourselves up. Go easy on it and praise your strengths. Big yourself up, build yourself up. Be grateful for your body, for your mind. Be proud of yourself and learn to genuinely love yourself way more. Again, something that I've really worked on. And I think really just this last year or so, I've made huge progress in this area because I've always beat myself up over silly things. And I know every single one of you watching this has your own version of this. I know you do. I beat myself up about the way I look. I beat myself up about the way I speak. My voice is too high pitched. I beat myself up about having a bit of a lazy eye that gets worse when I'm tired and I always look like I've got a wonky eye. Beat myself up about my height. I wish I was taller. Wish I was taller. I wish I was a baller. All that kind of stuff. And then you get to a point in your life where you get perspective. And you think none of us are perfect. We all have insecurities. And most importantly, geez, life is so quick. This life is so quick. And I don't want to waste such a huge portion of it focusing on my frigging wonky eye and my height and my voice and all the things that I wish I could change and this, that, and the other. Instead, I'm going to love myself for those things because they make me unique. They make me different. They make me interesting. And you know what? I'm grateful that I've got my eyes. I'm grateful that I've got a voice and I can speak. And I'm going to take a moment every so often to think, do you know what? I'm bloody lucky to have me. God, if you cut up this content and just use that, that sounds so egotistical. But I hope you get my point. My point is, let's stop always finding flaws in ourselves and let's start to think, none of that matters. Man, life is too short to waste it looking at that stuff. Instead, love yourself a little bit more. Be kind to yourself a little bit more. And again, that relationship you have with yourself will forge the foundations to every other relationship in your life. So if you have a good, loving relationship with yourself, that's creating the foundations to have more love with every other person in your life. So that is my 12 ways to become happy. I'm going to do a really quick recap because I know that was a lot of content. Please let me know, anybody watching live. Oh, bugger. Lynn had never noticed my wonky eye now. She's not going to see anything else from this point onwards, but thank you, Lynn. Please let me know in the comments. I'm going to go through these recaps dead quick. Let me know, how did you find this content? And also, what was maybe the most useful piece for you personally? What's the main thing you're going to take away? What's the main thing you're going to work more on? And be more proactive about. So here were the 12 steps. Number 1, give without wanting anything back. Number 2, stop consuming so much. Number 3, be more present and make peace with your past. Number 4, remove negative people and surround yourself with positive action takers. Number 5, gratitude. Be more grateful. Number 6, focus on exercise, good nutrition, and protecting your sleep. Number 7, learn to say no. Number 8, have a routine, have structure, have daily non-negotiables. Number 9, have variety. Live your life in seasons and know that you have a different season waiting around the corner. Number 10, remove the need to prove anything to anybody. Number 11, see the good in everything and remove expectations. And number 12 is make time for more love. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you all soon. Take care, everybody.